Amazing. Thank you so much,
Hello.
Michael. We're just listening to your song, Falala. Thank you for being here. Please,
Thanks for
everyone,
having
wave
me.
to Michael for me. It's so good to have you.
Hello, everyone. This is Michael
Let me
Oloyede.
just pause the music. That was Falala playing your song.
Oh, yeah.
This is my favorite part, so forgive me. I'm just gonna let it play for a bit. All right, welcome. We'll have
Thank
some more
you. Thank
time
you.
for music as it goes. Thank you, Ayajai. Thank you, Sheyida. Thank you, everyone, for being here. And everyone is saying welcome to you, Michael. It's so good to
Thank
have you.
you.
You're
This,
in your studio.
yeah. I'm in my drum studio. Yes.
Amazing, amazing. So good to have you. How are you feeling today? How's the weather? How's your day? Tell us about today.
Well, so far it's been good. Uh, I actually helped my daughter with her project yesterday night, so I slept quite late in the night. So when
Welcome
I
to
got up this,
fatherhood.
yeah, it's good anyway. It's good. So I've had time rehearsing, doing one or two musical stuff today. So I think I left the studio 2 hours ago just to take fresh air and take a break before the live stream. So I'm back in the studio again. But it's
Thank you
been a
so
good day
much.
anyway.
That's good to know. Thank you for being here. So we're just going to dive in and get to know you before we go into the main session. It's a tradition that I'm trying to establish or encourage. Let me use the word encourage, and it's what I call acknowledgement. Last last our last session on Monday with Tammy, we had acknowledgement, and Tammy acknowledged who she is, where she's from. We found out that Tammy is actually her grandfather was like a warrior, and she's also from a lineage of warriors in Ekiti State, and Ekiti is that state that has the Ikogosi warm springs, and she's never been
Mm.
there. It's amazing. It's interesting. She's never been to. Even I have been to Ekiti State for a wedding. She hadn't been there, but she had so much to share about her childhood, her art, and how she, evolved as an artist, as a Black artist. And this month of Black history, Black History Month in the US. It's not Black History for us because we're Blacks every day. But
Yeah.
right now, I need for you to acknowledge who you are. Introduce us to the Michael that we don't know, not the one your bio says. We know that you were, we know some of your musical journey. We know, Mustang, we know Berkeley, we know your works, we know drums. But beyond that, the African Michael, can we get to know you? Can we get to know who Michael is? So I call that the acknowledgement. Tell us about Michael. Anything
Okay.
from
All
your
right. Thank
childhood
you.
to your homeland. Yeah.
All right. Let me use this opportunity to welcome everyone who is watching us from wherever they are. And a big thank you to you, Pepe, for having me on this platform. Let me start my name is Abiola Michael Oloyede. So the Michael actually wasn't given to me at birth. It was my baptismal name. So my full name is Abiola Adebola Olugbenga Oloyede. For those of you who are from Nigeria, you know that a child has many names, and the names is given by parents, grandparents, and all the names they actually mean something. So I'm a Yoruba man. I hail from Ogun State, if for local government to be precise. My town or my village, as we used to call it, it's now a town now. My village back then is it's called Oshosun. And my dad actually grew up in Oshosun. My grandparents, they are both late now. My grandpa, my grandma. Uh, my grandfather was the Bale, like the chief, or a small, if you were to call it like the king of the town. But we could say chief of the town, but we call it Bale. I'm sure you're familiar with that. So it was the Bale of Oshosun village, but I think there was some other town under his, let me use the word kingdom, as it were. And he was an organist, but before he became an organist, he was a farmer. He was a farmer. He had expanse of land. He was a cocoa farmer. He sold banana.
I'm sorry, someone's saying, can we call you Prince? So can we call you Prince?
Well, from my name actually means prince. The prince has come. Oloyede, like the chief has arrived. Yes, that's the meaning of my surname. Oloyede, the chief has arrived. So, but you can't. I wouldn't call myself a prince, because my dad was actually meant to become a ballet, but he turned it down. At some point, he turned it down and passed it over to his younger brother. So, in terms of order, as it were, I can't call myself a prince. But by virtue of maybe my grandfather, I could call myself, if you want to call me a prince, but I don't. But I'd rather you not call
I'm sorry,
me a prince.
you're a prince. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to be humble about it. You're a prince.
Well, no, in actual fact, I'm not a prince. In actual fact, I'm not a prince because my dad is not a king. He's not a chief. You understand? So I wouldn't call myself a prince. So back to my grandfather was a farmer, like I said, and his own father, who is my great grandfather, was also a farmer, very wealthy farmer. I think it was the one that moved down from a different town. I can't remember the town now, to that Oshosun, and now he settled there. So my father, then, according to what he told us, he used to go to the farm with his grandfather, who happens to be my own great grandfather. So basically, I'm from a lineage of farmers. That's one side. Although I don't farm anymore, but growing up, I grew up farming. Even though I grew up in Lagos State, I constantly go home for periodic, at least I think at least four times every year. At times we spend maybe 2-3 days. At times we spend longer periods, a week, 2 weeks, and at times a month. So the other side to it is my grandfather eventually became an organist. According to what I learned, the organist in the African church in the village passed on, and I think there was nobody else to fill that space. So he volunteered to learn. And that was how he became the church organist. And he was the organist up until the moment he couldn't play anymore. At some point, he used to use the pedal organ. Then later, when he grew quite old, they had to buy the modern day portable keyboard. So he won't be using his feet anymore, basically. So then my own father is the head of the family. Presently the head of the Oloyede family. Is the first child. He was a farmer as well. Although he moved down to Lagos at some point, he had to do that to make way for his siblings to like fend in a way, like to create a pathway, as it were, for his siblings, basically. So my own town is Oshosun. I'm a Yoruba, and we Egba, where we call ourselves the Egba people. You know, we have yes. So, but I understand Egba quite well. If you speak it to me, I will understand everything you're saying. But modernization has taken. I really can't speak Egba. I don't have the intonation. It's actually the same Yoruba that I speak, but there's an inflection and one or two differences in the language, basically. So I'm from the
Can you
lineage
say
of
that can you say that your childhood or your history plays any role in your art as a musician? Can you say there's any connection between your background and your art, as it were?
yes, to a great extent, I would say so, or to a large extent, I'll say so, because at some point, to be sincere with ourselves, we oftentimes we can't separate our upbringing, our experience as a child, from who we are. We can manage it, but we can't actually separate it basically. So the reason why I said we can manage it, you can choose to shy away, you can choose to suppress it, you can choose to ignore it and try to pick up a new image. You understand? But whichever way you try, it's still part of you. Growing up, I remember then it was a large family, my dad being the head of the family, his siblings, they will all come together. We usually have a Thanksgiving back then. The Thanksgiving still old, but it's no longer as it was while I was growing up. While I was growing up, all my dad's siblings and their children, they will all come down to the family house in Ogun State. The Thanksgiving is on a Sunday. At times we travel down on a Thursday. So we spend four and we leave there maybe on a Monday or on a Tuesday. So everybody comes together. We have different local drummers, talking drummers, agidigbo. There's this instrument we call agidigbo. It's like a thumb piano, but it has a bigger box. It's not the imbira kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, it has a box with 3 or 4 metals. You play the box and you play melodies like pentatonic on those metals. So we had going to the village back then. I was exposed to masquerade, exposed to drummers, talking drummers, shekere
I'm
players.
envying you right now.
You what?
I'm envying you right now.
So I think at some point I even did a recording. I think when my grandfather was being installed as the chief, as the valet, there were lots of drummers that came from different towns, and there were a lot of masquerade that came out. So growing up with all of that, I think it plays a major role. For example, some people might see a masquerade and they get scared and they run away. For me, I don't get scared because I grew up seeing masquerade each time we go to the village. You understand? That's one. Then secondly, I was talking about my uncles coming around with their children and all of that. What that also did for me, in particular, is this uncle of mine. He resides in Ogun State. He usually comes to the village with a turntable. He
Ah.
comes to the village with a turntable, and he brings lots of vinyl records. And I remember every time he plays akpala, there's this style of music we call akpala, Ayinla Omowura, Olatunji Yusuf, but most of the time he plays Ayinla Omowura, Ebenezer Obey, Sonny Ade, then later on Shina Peter, you understand? So I grew up listening to all of that. So I always look forward to, because it's usually in the evening after the Thanksgiving, Sunday evening, we all sit in the compound, you bring speakers, set the turntable, we put on a small generator, and we'll power up the system. So you dance, you want to
Wow.
dance till the next morning, you dance to the next one. So in the early stage, I was actually exposed to this kind of music, akbala, juju, Fuji, and the likes. I was exposed at a very young age. Then one of my uncles as well, he resides in Lagos. I remember he had lots of Fela Kuti's records back then. Unfortunately, when he was moving at some point, when his turntable got damaged, he stored them at somewhere. But then the importance of those things, I didn't really pay attention to, so it wasn't really properly taken care of, and we lost everything basically. But growing up, going to the village, with a big family and the likes. I was exposed to different kinds of music, local music, music that uses local instruments, no bass, no guitar, no, it was pure rhythm, polyrhythms, and the likes, basically. So I was exposed to all of that at an early stage. So, but growing up, westernization, I wouldn't call it modernization. I'll call it westernization with the advent of clapperboard,
Uh,
Ray Power, AIT. I think clapperboard was early 90. I can't remember exactly what year. Ray Power. So, but with the advent of private media companies, you know, back then there used to be, and although they still exist till now, NTA, Channel 5, Channel 10, Channel, I think Channel 7 is
NTA.
Ibadan. I'm not quite,
Okay.
yes, I
Okay.
think it's Ibadan. So then we have OGTV. So
Mm-hmm.
growing up, it was all Yoruba, my dialect. I grew up in a Yoruba church, Christ Gospel Apostolic Church. So it was more of my dialect. You play local drums in church, you sing, you listen to local artists. There was no Michael Jackson. There was no, you listen to local content basically. But with the advent of private medias,
Hmm.
we, we were westernized, as it were. We now felt, I as a person at some point felt, oh, Western music, unconsciously, not consciously, not that somebody asked me or I I came to that reality that, oh, or a conclusion that, oh, Western music is better than African music, but just because of what we are being given, what we are being fed on radio and
Head.
on TV. So we felt, and the way it was packaged, well packaged, properly packaged and delivered. We always look forward to, I think it was Launch Hour program back there.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Mm-hmm.
D1 and Kenny, they usually play the latest
Absolutely on
pop,
AIT.
latest hip hop, and the like. You understand? So unconsciously, for me, maybe not for others, I felt Western music was better. I got introduced to jazz. I remember then I used to tune into, I can't remember the radio station, but it's the name of the program is called Sax and Jazz, sponsored by Sax and Bride. There's this beer company, but the host
Yes.
of the radio program was Lagbaja. Was so
Ah,
I remember I still have the tape. I usually buy cassette players. I will tune in and I will record the radio
you
program.
record.
Yes, I'll record, then I'll listen later on a Walkman. So that was my introduction to jazz music and all of that. So at some point I felt, oh, it was better than Western African music, was better than African music. And more so, uh, churches, I now moved from my parents' church, which was a Yoruba church, to
The
a,
contemporary.
a contemporary church, a redeemed church, and the service is done in English. We read the Bible in English. We sing in English. The music we do, Western music, Ron Kenoli, Don Muel, Hosanna music, Fred Hammond, and all
So
of that. So, in a way, for me, I threw aside the Yoruba songs that I grew up with, Yoruba Bible, praying in Yoruba, and all of that. I set it aside, but was until much later on that some sort of awakening, which I would say came about as a result of maybe my working with other people, traveling, working with different artists, and having and experiencing musicians from the Western world. I had to like, okay, I came to the reality that, man, I can't be who I am not. If I'm trying to be somebody else, I'll just be a duplicate. You understand?
absolutely.
The only thing I can be is to be myself, is to be myself, basically. So there's no way you can separate your experience as a child. In my own case, growing up in a Yoruba community, in a large family, growing up listening to Yoruba music, then now later on venturing into contemporary music, jazz, and all of that. yes, there's no way I can separate that. Yes, at some point I was bent on doing straight ahead jazz. It has to be jazz. Yeah, I'm a jazz drummer, I'm a funk drummer. And I'm like, yes, I'm grateful that I came to the reality and I'm looking into my roots now. I remember, was it last year? Yeah, I think it was last year, November there, but somebody, one of the topmost bass players in Nigeria, was like, so Mike, so it's Afrobeat now, and no more jazz. I said, well, I still play jazz. I'm still a jazz drummer, but I think I'd rather be identified with being an Afrobeat drummer. And Afrobeat is encompassing. It's not just the
Absolutely.
fella kind of Afrobeat. Yes, I'm actually more inclined towards the fella kind of Afrobeat, but there are so many other rhythms that falls on under Afrobeat basically.
Afrobeat.
So there's no way you can separate your upbringing. You can only ignore it. You can only run away and shy away from it. But there's no way you can separate it. It will creep
And
in.
even better, like you mentioned traveling, when you started to travel, when you started to work
Yes.
with other artists, and from your bio, you've had exposure in terms of education. You were at Muson, you were at Berkeley.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Thinking about all of this together, what do you think if we were to merge all our experiences? Like someone said, we can't go back in time to say we want to go back to 30 years ago and live the way
Mm-hmm.
life was. We evolve,
Yeah.
we grow, we've been exposed to new styles. For instance, myself, right now I'm in Canada, I'm not in Nigeria. I'm experiencing new cultures, I'm experiencing new traditions, new sounds. Do you think there's a possible way to merge all of our experiences as we evolve, to recreate or reinvent? I was speaking to Adedeji, is here too, and greetings to everyone who is here. Adedeji Info is here. We'll be having him on Friday. I was talking to Adedeji last time, and he mentioned how it's interesting. I mentioned this on Monday too. On Monday, he was like, "It's interesting how Africans discover Africa outside Africa."
Africa.
And in my discussion with him, part of what sparked this conversation, because I see that it's like we are now waking up as Africans to our
Mm-hmm.
origin, but at the same
Yeah.
time we've been exposed to Western world. I just finished a residency, and one of the main drummer, one of the drummers who was at the residency, Kevin Romain, said he was invited to Senegal. He's Canadian. He was invited to Senegal for a festival, a drum festival. And when he got to the
Okay.
festival, amazing drummers, complex rhythms. It was just crazy how we're playing all their traditional drums. And he was waiting for directions like, this is what we're doing, or this. So he kept asking the drummer,
Mm.
please, how are we supposed to? And they were just looking at him like, excuse me, just play. it's just it's just free. They are free spirited. But as we grow, as we get education, as we travel abroad, as we work with other artists, as we explore our environment and remember that we are now in the present, we're no longer in the past. Is there a
Mm-hmm.
possible way to merge all our experiences? Do you think it makes any difference merging the experiences, merging our education, merging our backgrounds? I've listened to your songs. I listen to Falala, I listen to Highlands. I can see a merger of ideas. I can see tradition. I can see Western styles. We can't
Mm-hmm.
discount what we've learned or what our exposure, like your exposure to jazz. How do you see what do you see possible with a merger? Like, is there a balance to pull? Is it possible to pull and succeed with it?
I think it's possible, very possible, and I think it's a good thing to be exposed to other culture, to be exposed to different kinds of music. And what I would say is, we need to appreciate what we have. There's this saying that it's until you lose something that you appreciate it, you understand. So maybe that's the reason why when you get out of Africa, you now discover Africa outside Africa. I remember my first time in the US. We were at a park and we saw and a guy approached us and was like, "Hey, where are you guys from?" We said, "Oh, we're from Africa." I think that was 2009 when Five Wise Men, when we were
Went
in
to
the
the
US.
US.
Yes. So, and The guy was like, hey, where you guys from? I was like, hey, from Africa. I was like, hey, Africa, do you know Oloyede? Do you know Fela Kuti?
Yeah.
You understand? And he wasn't asking me about, do I know John Coltrane? Do I know? He was asking me about Africa.
Good
You
place.
understand? So at times, experiencing other culture helps us appreciate what we have. You know, at times we grow complacent when you stay around certain things over time. You get used to it. It feels worthless, as it
Yeah.
will. Now, back to the question in terms of how can we merge the experience? One of the reasons why Western music is popular is because Western music is institutionalized. What I mean by institutionalized is you can go to a library and type how to play jazz saxophone, or go online. You don't have to travel. You don't have to go to a library. On your phone, you can type how to play the piano, and you will see lots of resources from classical to jazz, even to Latin. You see lots of resources. That is one. Drums, the Western drum set, how to play the drum set. You see lots of resources. So I tell some of my guys, my contemporaries, that our experiences going out there, let us bring it back home. Let us institutionalize our own music. Let us institutionalize our own music in such a way that you want to learn high life, you can type how to play high life music and you find resources. They are not going to do it for us. We have to do it for ourselves. Yes, they might write a book on high life. Maybe a school in Europe or in America might write a book on high life. But we also need to get into it by documenting our music. That's the only way it can grow. That's the only way it can evolve. Jazz that we know today is a derivative of African music. It's African music meeting European music. What's the African music there? The rhythm, the spontaneity in jazz, improvisation. It's all African. You understand? Now, the music, the harmony is Western. That's the European part of it. But at some point, some people took it, they documented it, they passed it on to the next generation. They passed it on. The next generation will take it with what's happening at that moment, get a new form. So if you look at jazz, you have the ragtime, you have the swing era, you have the bebop, the post-bop, you have the avant-garde era and all of that. Those are evolutions of the jazz form, basically. So we can use our experience and come back. You don't have to physically come back to Africa. You can look at what you have. Okay, how can I play a role in amplifying African music, in amplifying Nigerian music, or wherever you are from Africa, in amplifying your music, basically, such a way that I can go and say, okay, a Afrobeat harmony, Afrobeat. At Berkeley, you have basic harmony, you have advanced harmony. Then you can now go into specialization by doing Latin harmony. You understand? But do you have any resources on? Yes, harmony is universal, but they now have books, materials that zones in on those styles of music. That is one. Then the other thing is, the other thing we can do to merge the experience, it's attention to details. Western music, there's this, generally, for example, in Nigeria, if you ask somebody for direction, if you're going somewhere, someone in Nigeria will say, once you get to that junction, just go straight, turn right, and just keep going. It's vague. You understand? But if you ask a child or an average person in the US, it will tell you, go maybe 2 miles east, then head north, and 5 blocks away, you get to your destination. You understand? That's being specific, being precise, and it comes with paying attention to details. So we can bring that experience into our own music and actually pay attention to details. You hear some people will say, oh, Fela's music, the singers, they were not in tune. Some of the singers, they were singing off pitch. That does not mean that at this age and time, your own style, Afrobeat, should sound off tune. Your own should not sound off tune. So we can bring that attention to details, that being finicky, we can bring it into our own music. It doesn't take away spontaneity. It doesn't take away improvisation. There was a time I was telling some of my guys that I just got tired of playing swing, changbalang, 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 changbalang. I'm like, it bores me now. Let us present, even if we're playing a standard, let's present it in a new way, in a way that it's not that we're changing anything per se, but in the presentation. I'll give you an example of what I mean. I said westernization, not modernization. Mm-hmm. What we are doing in Nigeria largely is westernization. We're just dumping our own thing. Yes, it's changing. The terrain is changing. And the reason I said it's changing, 5 years ago, or maybe 8 years ago or 10 years ago, in churches, you'll be singing Western music. You'll be singing integrity music. But right now in Nigeria, most churches sing songs written by Nigerians.
Amazing.
Yes. On radio, videos on TV, you will be seeing the Kelly Rowlands, the people are always looking forward to their latest release. But right now, nobody cares. They are looking in what people want to watch, the Davido, the Whiskey, Burna Boy, and all of that. They're all local. So the terrain is changing. To be sincere, it's changing. So now, the thing is, we just need to take that experience, bring it back home, refine, and let our style of music evolve. Basically, look at what this visual artist is doing in New York. Laulu,
yes. NYC.
Exactly. What he's doing is more of artwork that you find around in Ile-Ife or your state, but it's redefining the way it's being perceived. You understand? So now what I was saying about westernization and modernization, westernization is dumping your own thing and taking somebody else's thing. Modernization is taking your own thing, using modern technology to present it, basically.
Wow.
So if I'm modernizing my music, I'll probably be using maybe modern instrument, modern technology. For example, if you're releasing, like the song I released, the single I released, Island, if it were maybe 15 years ago, I probably won't release a single because I have to print a CD. But now I can release a single every now and then. I can release a single because all I need to do is just to put it on one of the digital platforms, and it's everywhere. So it's the same music, but I'm using modern technology, modern resources to distribute it. So same way, for example, if you go to maybe Asia, maybe Dubai, maybe you go to Dubai, you see maybe the KFC in Dubai. They won't advertise the KFC in Dubai with an American or with an European. They will advertise it with a local. They will use pictures of a local. The terrain is changing right now. It's actually changing in Nigeria. There used to be a time whereby you pick a flyer about crusade and all you see is white people. And you get what I'm saying? So it's all about, it's still the same, the colonial thing that, our own thing is not good and theirs is better. So we can use all of that experience, take the good things and bring it back home. Modern resources, modern technology, modern instrument. If you're familiar with Sonny Ade, Ebenezer Obey, Wasiu, they started their music journey using local instruments. And at some point, they introduced guitar, introduced saxophone, Wasiu in particular, introduced the keyboard. It was purely rhythm, sakara, talking drum, akpala, and all of that they were using, and they would sing over it, basically. So we can take all of that experiences, take the good things, and bring it, apply it to what we do, and let the music evolve. Basically, we can actually match. We can actually match the
Thank you
two.
so
I
much.
remember. I remember. If I could chip this in, I remember when I got back from Berkeley, and almost every show that I played then, I usually go with my drums, because I realized that in the US, you are going for a show, except the venue has the drums. For you to be called for gigs, you need your own drum set.
Mm.
For you to be called for gig, you need your own, even a keyboard player. You have to take your keyboard, your stand, at times even your amp, and the sound guy will only give you, oh, this is your DI or something. You know, so I imbibed that. And so when I got back home, I was going everywhere with my drums. And yeah, it had its bad side in some terms of I have to spend extra on taxis to get my drums to the venue. But each time I played, I could play and enjoy myself.
Yeah.
Because I know, okay, I'm playing on a good instrument.
Instrument.
And at the same time, it opened lots of opportunity, because people called me for gigs knowing that I have my own, I had my drum set back then. They called me for gigs, knowing that, oh, you need a drummer. We can't pay for drum set. Oh, we have a drummer who has the drums. He will bring it. You understand? So those are some of the things that we can actually take and apply. We take good, but not to now throw out our own music. No, we shouldn't do that.
Yeah. Wow, that's interesting. Thank you. You said so many things. One of the things you said that got me was, you mentioned the advent of private media, how private media back then brought in Western music, and the same media today is hyping African or Nigerian music, and that's a good thing. You also mentioned institutionalization. That's so interesting. Oh, I see Gaze Baba is here. Welcome, Gaze. I'm so happy to have you here, and we're looking forward to chatting on Sunday. Um, so basically, you mentioned institutionalization, and I'm really thankful. I see I see David Peter, I see Johnson, a lot of our music scholars here. I feel like chatting with Adedeji the last time, just like he said today, he said it's up to us music scholars and music practitioners to take the music from where it is today to where it should be. That, you know, by the time analysts and critics or historians are documenting, they can say this was the trend, this was how it evolved, and this was when it happened. But we are the ones who are responsible for taking it from here to there. You talked about documentation. You talked about, mod packaging, attention to detail. That's so interesting. That's so funny. We're discussing beyond the stage because I'm hoping that by talking about these things, I feel like it's so timely because most of our artists are beginning to look inward. And I feel like this would help us to encourage all the artists who are looking inward. Gaze is shouting out to you, Michael. He says, shout out to Michael. That's Gaze Baba. So I feel like it's so timely. I feel like it's really timely because it's going to give us as artists who are beginning to look inward an opportunity to see that there are possibilities, endless possibilities. Attention to detail is so key. And when I talk about beyond the stage, I'm hoping that as artists, beyond what we do on stage, we have time to reflect, time to pay attention to all of these details, time to think about how to document our processes, document our work, and that's what birthed this Take Root Africa initiative. I'm hoping that with time, we can fill it with resources, materials, research paper, research work, interviews like this, so people can go back, and when they need information on African music or certain things, they can always find free resources on apps. So we populate the industry with knowledge, we populate the industry with resources, with quality resources. And like you said, it's up to us as musicians to do this basic thing. I don't know how our education system, how you think our educational system might play a role in this. Because we have schools. I think most of our higher institutions have music or art, creative art. Sorry, let me say creative arts in general. And I must say they are playing a very major role. Tammy that I had on Monday, Tammy and I graduated from Unilag together in 2018. It's amazing the work our lecturers, our institutions are doing. But is it enough? Is there more that can be done? In terms of like when you talked about documentation and attention to details, I feel like there's so much. Yes, the school cannot teach you everything. Like you mentioned, your parents used to take you back to the village every year, you said, for Thanksgiving, a family tradition to just go home.
Yes.
You enjoy the sounds, you are immersed in the culture. When I studied music, we used to write, they'll tell you to write about a festival. To be honest, some of the times we don't go for these festivals. We
Yeah.
write from a distance. We write from the internet. I'm
Mm-hmm.
speaking for myself. I was not a very serious student, so
No,
maybe the serious
very
students
true.
go. So we would write about the festival from a distance when we should be. I feel like it would have been better or much more true if we attended this festival, if we were part of the making of this festival, if we understood what every instrument, every form of art is representing or signifying or symbolizing. But do you
Yeah.
think there is more that our educational institutions can do, or do you think it's actually left to us as individuals, or do you think the schools are doing enough?
Well, number one, the schools are not doing enough. That's a fact. And the reason why I said so is as regards to music, I don't want to generalize, but I could as well generalize because you can see there are signs out there. I'm speaking now for where I am, Nigeria. The schools aren't doing enough because, especially in the music area, I think Nigerian universities are using same method they use in teaching English to teach music. And it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way.
I'm
The
sorry,
schools are
someone,
not doing
let me
enough.
just, let me look at this. Aya Jai just said, proud, proud of festivals we have. Condemned as fetish. Okay. Did you hear that? Some of our festivals
Yeah, that festivals are condemned as
condemned as fetish. This came up on Monday again. But continue, please. We're talking about educational institutions.
Okay. All right. So basically, our universities are not doing enough. Yes, they have courses in creative arts, in music, and it's the same thing for a student that goes into university to study engineering, and all it does is on paper. All it does is engineering. The 4 years or 5 years is spent in school. Everything is done on paper. I remember I was working by, I think it was MIT. Then when I was in Berkeley, when I was staying with my brother was in Boston. Then I walked past one of the labs and I saw what I usually see in movies when I was in Nigeria. And I saw students, they were, as in, so how would you compare such experience, same student studying engineering and another student studying engineering, whereby all the diagram, the machine and the apparatus is drawn on a whiteboard or is seen on a picture on a paper, then you now cram the image of that you cram the diagram, then the exam you now try to replicate. You understand? So the way knowledge is being disseminated, I feel it needs to be overhauled. For example, for my little time at Berkeley, exams play just a small exactly projects, class attendance, class participation, participating in ensembles, evaluation, the way those are the things. So those are the things that matter. Writing exams, it's not the main, but now we lay emphasis on writing exams and all of that. That is one in terms of the college, universities. For me, what I feel we can do is, for us musicians, we also need to get into this. We need to be involved. We cannot stay aloof and expect things to change. The people doing it, I believe they're doing it to the best of their knowledge. So we need to get involved. Yes, there are lots of politics involved in teaching in a university, in college. Blah. No, you don't have to do that. Berkeley that we know today started with someone who teaches students on a private basis, who usually rented a studio space to teach. And over time, it grew, and it became what we call Berkeley today. It didn't start from a university or from, it was a private, Berkeley is still a private institution, but it started in a studio.
Wow.
And
Wow.
10 people. I don't know how big the studio was, but that was how Berkeley started. So we need to get involved. The other thing is, the society we are, especially in Nigeria, there's tendency for the society to conform you to what it is, or let me put it another way, to force you to become the product of the society. Let me recoin that. The society we are presently, if you are not conscious, you will end up conforming to mediocrity. I don't know if you understand what I said.
Yeah, I do. Sorry, I just see Benjamin. Benjamin says African Drum Festival in Ogun State and Calabar are born out of research. I had no idea. Nice.
Yeah. It happens every year.
And they're all born out of research.
So, like I was saying, there's tendency that wherever you are, there's tendency the things around your environment could force you to conform to what it's set up to be. So you have to be conscious. For example, if you remember back then, I don't know how it is now, but somebody was lamenting, I think it was yesterday, that he went to Muzon and he wasn't really happy and all of that. But you remember back then when we were preparing for recital, it was to the detail.
Yes.
You understand?
Yes.
It was, our lecturers, they were quite finicky.
Yes.
If you don't play well, you recite. You have to do
that recital again.
You have to do your recital.
Yes.
And the person was telling me that they were doing a recital and the instruments were not tuned, and the lecturers, some of the lecturers didn't notice there was nothing. Yes, so that's what I'm talking about. Society forcing you to become what it is. And I also tell some of my guys that from my own experience, that go to a place like New York or Cape Town or somewhere where music is really happening.
Strong.
And don't practice. Just go there. Go to a club almost every day. Just listen. After 30 days, take your instrument. You will sound different. You understand? So what we can do now to bring about change is to be involved. To be involved in the teaching, in the business. For example, most venues that we play at in Lagos are owned by non-musicians.
Absolutely. True.
So they get to control the kind of music you play because they are the ones paying. So you have no control. It's not that, except for a place like Alliance Francaise, that you can submit a place for art music, where you can submit your own kind of music and they'll give you a date. You walk in, they have a facility, sound, backline. All you need to do is bring your band and they pay you an appearance fee. You understand? But lots of venues that we have around Lagos, for you to do your own show, to even raise awareness about whatever style of music you're playing, you have to pay for the hall, you have to pay for sound, you have to pay for the band. So the cost alone is forcing a lot of people to not play, not find a way to develop or play the music they're passionate about. So a lot of musicians are on survival mode, playing in churches. There's nothing wrong in playing in church. I play in my church as well, you understand? I'm a music director in my church. What I'm only saying is, when a particular, and you know, church has a laid down standards kind of music you play. So if you are playing just that kind of music alone, other kind of music will start. But the thing is, the fact is, church is still in Nigeria the highest employer of musicians. So, but if you have venues like the Alliance Francaise in Ikoyi, that people can walk into and submit their press kits, that I would like to play this venue, I would like to play that venue. For example, the performance center at Berkeley, you would have not just Berkeley alone. During my tour with Lagbaja, we played in House of Blues. From if you go to House of Blues to their website now, you will see line artists. Well, maybe because of COVID, you wouldn't, yeah. But prior to COVID and post COVID, you will see lineup of artists from Monday to Sunday. People that will be playing, local artists coming from another town, international artists. But we don't have such venues here because all the venues you have to pay. Museum Center, Recital Hall is a business center as far as I'm concerned. You understand? So we as musicians, we also need to get involved. During the tour with Lagbaja, we played BB King's club. BB King, a musician, he has a club. Richard Bona has a lot of musicians over there. I didn't hear that.
I said I had no idea that BB King had a club.
It still exists. Yeah.
Even after he's
very
gone.
Lovely place. Yes. You understand? So we as musicians, we also need to get involved. Even we have to find spaces where we can own. You might not necessarily buy, you might not necessarily rent the place. You might need to come to an agreement, find an arrangement with the owner of the facility. Okay, well, I'll be having a show here. It will be titled this, but I'll decide the artist and all of that. We need to get involved in the business side as well, because most venues, event owners, they are non-musicians. So they get to dictate the kind of music. I've been in a situation somebody says, oh, I want jazz music. And once you start playing jazz music, they'll tell you,
no, that's not it.
Play Davido for me. There's nothing wrong with Davido. But they actually asked for jazz music. And you're there and they're like,
they don't
and
know.
you'll be like,
they don't know.
You understand? So, but they're the one paying. In that situation, we are being hired. You understand? But
So
a place
strong.
like Alliance Francaise, people come there to listen.
Yes. So strong.
They come there to listen to your music.
So strong.
So if you have such venues around, it will encourage people to do more.
Do better.
Exactly. Like Dr. Bankole is exploring, I've forgotten this tribe. It's closer to Badagry, that kind of music. Look at Kunuji, one of his projects, he had to travel down to Badagry to come and record musicians. We have lots and lots of musicians like Victor Ademufe, who is doing stuff with Conga and the likes and all of that. So if we have venues like that, it will enhance the growth
of artists.
But as long as the cost of putting shows out is steep. I didn't get that.
You're saying it will encourage or enhance if we get
it will.
involved and create more spaces. It will. Yeah. Gaze was saying he missed a bit about how venues operate abroad. Can you please go over that again? You know, when you were talking about BB King spaces in abroad, venues.
Okay. Yeah. There are venues abroad whereby you can walk up to them and talk to them. Oh, you want to perform. Some of them you can mail or write them, or you get a booking agent. They'll do all of that, and you write them. You submit your portfolio, your press kit.
Mm-hmm.
They check it out. Oh, okay, we can book you. There's an opening. We can book you for so date. Then you have an arrangement, an agreement. Oh, maybe the gate taking.
You share the percentage.
Yeah, you share. But most venues abroad, those venues, they have sound, they have lights, and somebody was my mentor, Tosin Bisala, was telling me that even presently in New York, unique instruments that you use that you need to bring along with yourself. So most venues over there, they have sound, they have light. So you are not bothering yourself about lighting. You are not bothering yourself about sound.
Just bring yourself.
You're not bothering yourself at times about backline. Just come with your musicians and play. Some will even pay you. At times, a bigger artist is coming to town and they need somebody to open for the artist. They might look at their list, okay, who best fits? Then they'll call you, they can book you and you open for that artist. but it's not really happening. Yeah, I think the closest to that was what Asha did in her concert. That was like, yes, on a bigger scale, what she did in her last concert in Lagos, whereby she featured lots of up and coming artists in
Artists,
Nigeria to open a show before she performed. You
amazing.
understand? But such venues,
Not enough. Yeah.
I mean, they they are not existing except for one. You
Wow, that's
understand?
interesting.
Well, and I can't blame the
Artists.
owners of the venues. I
Okay.
can't blame them. They built the facility
Make money.
with a different purpose in mind, so I can't blame them. So that's why we as musicians, we need to get involved. We need to get into the game. You understand?
Oh
Yes,
my
there's a
God.
place like the Shrine. Yes, I haven't been there in years. It's similar, but I don't know how Shrine operates. I think Motherland is being rebuilt,
And
and
then
I think it's
Freedom
going to be
Park.
modeled after. Yes, Freedom Park is also another place, you understand, but there are just a few. So
Yes.
imagine if you have such places around
Wow, that's so profound.
Nigeria, you release a project, you can tour the nation.
Yeah.
That's what touring. Touring doesn't really mean you have to go out of the
Go
country.
abroad.
You
Yes.
can go from Lagos to Ogun State to Oyo, Oyo to Abuja, Abuja, you go to Aba, Kaduna, you are moving around, you understand? If you have such venue, all you need to do is just to send your work across and they will book you, you pick dates. So as
Mm.
musicians, we also need to get involved. If you have a small space or you know somebody who has a space and you can afford sound or have an arrangement with a sound company that will provide you with, even if it's just basic sound, and you can start putting shows together. I think Afro Vibes Live, they're doing such thing using different venues and like so if we just need to get involved so that
Yes.
there will
True.
be avenues
To promote our
to
art.
perform exactly because
Yeah.
why practice, why write music when you can't perform it, where there's no place for you to play it.
Share it. Thank you so much. That's so profound. Gaze just said Motherland is going to be modeled after. Then he puts a question mark. Do you get that question? Do you understand the question? He says
Oh, okay,
Motherland.
yeah, I say yeah, borderline is being rebuilt now and
Okay.
I think is from what I learned, it's been rebuilt and it's going to be. Yeah, Modern used to be a place where Lagwaja performed and some other artists, Wasiu and the like perform. But I think it's been rebuilt to have the modern look and I'm sure it will be available for such as well. I don't have all the details, but from what I learned, it's being rebuilt presently, and
Wow.
once it's done, it will be back to I'm sure its former glory,
Much
whereby people
better.
can go in there and perform. Yeah.
And Kunle Lemushe, thank you. He says it's the same in Vienna. So many clubs that encourage you to come perform. Now, basically, it's amazing. We're not just talking about performance. We're looking at Black history, Black culture, Black art. And why we're going to venues, it's because as much as we want to write good music, good creative African content, we want to also
Mm.
have avenues to be able to showcase
Yes.
them. And this is all, I mean, thank you so much for pointing that. You said so many things today, Michael, as in like, if a musician has, if you were looking for a business to think about as a musician, as an artist, as a creative artist, as a designer or a painter or anything, you're looking for an idea. I mean, one of the things he's mentioned today is build up a space. I hear MI has a space in Abuja,
Oh,
CCX,
okay.
a club, yeah. And so it's like music and food and drinks and all that. You know the way Bogobiri used to be in Lagos
Yeah, yeah.
to perform for Tarua festivals. I mean, it's
Mm.
amazing. We can't be complete artists if we don't have a schedule of progress. And like you
Yeah.
said, you don't touring doesn't mean leaving your country and being going to the US or going to Germany to perform. Within your state, even within Lagos State,
Yes,
you
exactly.
can tour venues. Then we used to have Rhapsodies. I used to play at the Rhapsodies Club in Ikeja, and there was Rhapsodies in VI. There used to be Rooftop, you know. But these places, like you said, these places are not owned by artists, so the ideas, the structure, the creativity will not be the same. So imagine if an artist, say it, Michael Oloyede or a Gaze or an Adedeji had a space for just art. And you're looking, I mean, like say today is Akpala music, tomorrow is Juju music, next tomorrow is jazz, next tomorrow is fusion. It's an avenue. I think going beyond the stage is saying that I can't just be thinking about myself on stage performing, but also my creative process. How do I draw my inspiration from the land, from nature, from our history, from our rich culture as Africans? And Michael has spoken so much about that. We can't limit ourselves by just, you said westernization, not modernization. Modernization is good. Westernization is throwing away your culture, throwing away our history to take in what we think is better, what we think is more superior, when our art as Africans is so beautiful, it's so mind-blowing. This is, I mean, I've had an amazing time. I don't know if anyone has a question, they can just throw it into the chat room. I've learned a lot from you. It's been great. Participation has been wonderful. Thank you to the audience. I don't know if Michael has, okay, I'll just take a moment to, for those of us who didn't listen to this song at the beginning, I would like to play it one more time because of how much I think you did a little bit of, you talked about modernization, taking Western and then merging it with what we do. And that's so beautiful. So I'm just going to quickly play. I'll play that song again. I think I love Falala, the way it starts with the language. Yeah. Yeah. Someone says Lagos State has built many theater venues around the state. And Ayada is saying how many of those theaters are functional. I can't answer that question. I don't know who has been there. I really wish they were functional. Please just throw your questions if you have questions. As Michael prefers to give his last words. Yeah. Thank you so much, Michael. Do you have any, I mean, you said so much. I don't know. I had to be taking notes because I'm hoping that Take Root Africa will be a platform where artists can contribute, hopefully encourage institutionalization, encourage documentation, encourage research so that African art, our art is not thrown away and we don't look down on what's such beautiful thing that we do. Sorry, I see that question. How many of those, okay, no, and then Gaze says one of them was burnt during the post-NSAS. Oh my goodness, that's so sad. One of the theaters was burnt down during the protests.
Yes, the Lagos Theater. Yes, I think they have one in Oregon here. I drove past after the NSAS protest, and I saw the glasses was damaged, vandalized.
Wow. And then Adedeji says, what was your experience like touring with Lagbaja? Oh wow.
Well, it was well, it was a great one. I wasn't built for that tour. It was somebody else who had issues with one of his documentation. So I was called in
last minute.
I think few months, yes, last minute to fill in, and that was it. The whole experience, like I always say, I remember there was a time, I think it was year 2000, when Lagbaja releases. There was a particular album, 3 cassette album he released back then, We Me, Abami, We Me. And I was at the redemption camp, after prayers, after Bible sessions, I had headphones plugged in, and averagely you would think maybe I was listening to a sermon, or maybe but I was practically listening to the entire album. You understand? So, but touring with him, it was amazing. I think we played about, I think, 15 venues or so, 15 or 16 venues, and each night was fun, different experience. I remember the first night was in, I think, was in Houston. I was geared up, and the cold, the temperature dropped. I was warmed up, and when I got on stage, my fingers were frozen.
First.
I was playing, but I felt I wasn't playing. I had to be asking, hope you guys can hear me, hope I was, and all of that. But playing with him is I learned a lot, and some of the things I learned, you can hear it in some of the in my music,
Absolutely.
and they actually shared a lot of things. There's a lot of things that he didn't say, but I picked
Picked.
by being in the rehearsal room with him, by being on the
Observation.
same tour ball, yes, exactly, by observation. Yes, there was some advice he gave me and all of that. But it was a wonderful experience, one that I hope I can relive, you understand? And I hope someday he would also, because there was time I was thinking of a project whereby we can invite him and he can talk about his musical evolution and all of that. For example, he told me something that about singing and the likes. It was like he didn't plan to sing.
Sing.
He didn't plan, yes, he didn't plan to that. Something happened. The singer, somebody who was meant to sing, had to travel on a project, on a national project, and was left alone. So he had to sing, he had to sing, he had to talk. There's one particular album that he just had to, it was more of talking, not singing. But he just kept
Wow.
doing it, and more or less then he was telling me that whatever I want to do, that I should just start and do it, that you get better at it. But really is when you talk about reading ideas, is full of ideas. You
Hmm.
need to experience, you need to experience it for
Hmm.
you to understand what I'm talking about. But it was a lovely time. It was a lovely time. We played a couple of venues, met a couple of lots of great people,
Wow. Wow.
traveled around. But it was nice. It was nice. It was nice. The music, it's something that I love. So apart, it was a different experience. It was a different experience from me being a hired drummer to play a particular music. It was
Exactly.
like I was playing
And
music that
learning
I actually grew
and
up exactly that I loved. You understand? So the experience was quite different. Though it's quite finicky. It can drive you.
detail.
Yes, quite detailed, quite finicky. You have to, if it says, okay, play this particular part this particular way, and you go to the show, you feel it's a show, you do your own thing. When you get back, you hear it. You
That's
understand? So,
beautiful.
but
And I
it
think it
gives
rubbed off
room.
on you. I think that
Huh?
rubbed off on you, Michael. You're very detailed too. You
Well, I'm trying. I'm trying, you understand? So, but although at the same time, it gave room, especially for me as a drummer. If you listen to his recordings, you realize that there's actually no clear-cut trap drums, no clear drum set parts, you understand? So he had to sit me down and explain how to identify rhythms to pick, to accentuate, rhythms to complement.
That's
So
mentorship
there were
free of
some
charge.
songs,
Wow.
there were some songs actually that had a clear drum part that other drummers have been playing, but there was room for me to expand as long as it works. There was room for me to expand, to add, to subtract, as long as it works, as long as it complements the music, basically. But it was a wonderful experience. It was a wonderful experience.
Thank you so much for that. That's so good. Like I said, that's mentorship free of charge. And you see,
Yeah.
as we round up, one strong thing that um, our institution hopefully will take on our educational sector is mentorship. How
Mm.
Why we shouldn't limit education to the classroom. So if you have a group of students who are maybe say a drummer, you should directly have links to a real time live performing drummer. I was only lucky once to perform on stage with Lagbaja. I mean, before him in Abuja. I think that was in 2017.
Okay.
I was so as you know, it's been a while since I'd heard him. Hearing him on stage, it was just so. It was not too many people on stage. Just it was mind blowing, and imagine a drum scholar or a music scholar being, or an art scholar being merged or linked directly to a mentor. It doesn't even have to be a popular person. Even if it's a local drummer from Ibadan, from the village, an exposure like that can change so much. And that's how we can actually document our past.
And you know the funniest thing, we have lots of them in Nigeria and in the diaspora. What you're talking about, I think they do it a lot in the Western world, and at times they call it residency, whereby a touring musician will spend maybe a month or 2 months, at times maybe 2 weeks, at times could be a week residency on campus, giving master classes, workshops, performing, you understand? And I think at Berkeley then there were times that Zildjian brought drummers, Steve Smith brought different drummers, Lewis Nash to the campus. They were doing residency with maybe 3 days, 1 week. Those are some of the things I was talking about at universities. These are things they could do. Look around, because most of the lecturers in the universities, they are not performers. But in the Western world, you realize that there are some courses that are not available in the winter semester, simply because the lecturer, the professor that's to teach it, is on tour. It's usually not available in winter semester. So you have to take that course maybe in the summer semester or the fall semester, you understand? So, but you have real musicians teaching, not people who at some point, or who went to teaching college to learn music, and they got the certification, the certificate, and all of.
You're shaking the table.
But that's the fact. But that's the fact. You understand? That's the fact. You even right now, even if you, yes, I'm not advocating to throw them away. No,
absolutely.
But you can give room to musicians, performers to come in. Maybe once in a week, or maybe once in a month. They give a master class. They mentor people, like you said, you understand? Those things actually help, because really, when you go to school and you learn all the staff notation and everything, what matters is the product you give when you get to the industry, when you get out there. Nobody cares if you went to Juilliard, or you went to any A-list college to study music, and you say you're a jazz musician. Get on stage, pick your sax, improvise. Your playing should tell. They should come, oh man, where did you go? Your playing should tell, not you parading yourself. Oh, I graduated from this, I graduated from that. I think no, you went there to learn, so that you can give out a good product. You understand? Yeah. So the role of mentorship is very key. It's very key and crucial, because it helps one to cross certain hurdles easily. That they've crossed. You understand? You cross it easily. You don't have to trip over the same problem. So it makes the journey, the experience, it shortens it, basically. So it's a good thing. I wish our colleges, our universities can start doing things, inviting people. But the thing is, they see, oh, those ones, they don't know music. We are the scholars. And to be sincere, it's even, if I'm to bring it home to some of Muzon guys, Muzon alumni, some feel, oh, they are the scholars. You understand? You understand? It has to be encompassing, you understand, basically.
Absolutely. So. Absolutely. Thank you so much. It's basically, this conversation is centered around Black history, Black culture, and then a life of artists beyond the stage. We're hoping that with these discussions we can awaken or reinforce whatever quest you have, looking within your tradition, looking within your culture, to create unique African art without any bias, without any apologies, and do it in a very, and like Michael has said today, package it properly, do it in a very unique way, use modernization, make it beautiful, make it sellable, document it, make it accessible, let people be able to see what is going on here, learn from our culture, and don't throw away our culture to take on Western culture. You can merge, you can actually merge them. You can actually pull from your African history, your African experience, your local tribe, pull from that, pick your current education, your current exposure, your current state of life, you know, polish it properly, and then you have such a unique art. And like we listened to his music today, Michael Oloyede, you're amazing. You've spoken so well today. You've spoken so well. I mean, I'm going to have to listen to this all over again to take lessons from what you've shared. I'll just quickly read a few comments so we can go on. Yeah, Kunlele Moshe says you are forgiven. I think this was when you were saying you were in church and you were listening to Lagbaja when you should be listening to the sermon. Kunlele Moshe says
no. I wasn't listening to Lagbaja in the church. I wasn't listening to Lagbaja during sermon. It was after the sessions.
After the session.
Maybe going to the market to buy food.
Don't worry,
I had my headphones plugged in.
Nobody's spanking you.
No, I know nobody is judging me, but I just had to like clear the air there. It wasn't during the sessions. It was after the breaks in between. Okay. I was basically listening to Lagbaja, and I enjoy it. I will do it again.
And Adedeji says Oroloso Okuro. Do you understand that? You spoke well, man, I guess. And shout out to Mr. Michael Oloyede, great teacher and big brother indeed. That's Papi Lulu. AY director says yes, student focused learning, and that's when we're talking about mentorship. You know, basically our schools. I remember in Unilag, one of our lecturers actually did that. I think that was Sheyi Kenny. Shout out to Sheyi Kenny. In the class where we're talking about African drums or something, he actually brought a local drummer from, I don't know, I think Badagry or from Abeokuta, I'm not sure. And the guy came for like 4 weeks, I mean, once every week, to teach us how to actually play and then how to make a talking drum. I think that was what the focus was, making. So he brought someone from you know, you can't teach, you don't have to know how to teach everything. You can pull from your environment. And this guy came in. I was shocked when he spoke English, because all through the lessons he was speaking Ijili, as in deep Yoruba, because he said he's teaching us talking drum. He can't be speaking English talking about talking drum. It was I don't forget, and I don't take that for granted, because it was so good. It was my best. I didn't miss one class, and I was not a serious student. I used to miss classes, but for that unique experience, because I began to, at that point I was realizing how unique and how beautiful our culture is. We had this guy with his team teaching us materials for making a talking drum, why it's this, why you have to do this, why the Iyailu is the only one who talks when every other instrument is quiet, you know. And it was so real. And you know, so that's basically what Michael was saying. And when Ayajai says student-focused learning, the dichotomy is nauseating. Juan Ugadas Johnson says, true. AY director, very profound session. Thank you, Mr. Michael. Well done, Pepe. Yeah. Sax go, thank you. Kunlele Moshe, thank you. Juan Uga says, still you are forgiven, even after you're explaining yourself. Benjamin Adewale says, Lori Euro. And I1 OG says, shout out to my mentor and teacher, Mr. Michael. I can't tell you how grateful I am for you accepting this. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for participating. Thank you, Michael. I'm definitely going to have to take so much more lessons from you. And I hope that from today on, everyone who is listening, you can carry your culture with pride. You can carry your childhood experiences with pride and let it rub off on your art. And hopefully, with business ideas shared here, in the next few years, we'll have amazing jazz venues, amazing music or art venues or creative venues springing up in Lagos, springing up even in our villages, in our states. So if I'm going to Abeokuta, I know that Michael has a music space where I'm going to tour, you know, without any. So thank you so much. Thank you all for being here. Michael, I'm so grateful. God bless you. Thank you all. I'm just going to play the music while everyone leaves before I end. I'm going to keep playing. Yeah. Bye.
Bye-bye.
And for those who are still here, please, you can listen to Michael's works Highlands. You can listen to that and have fun.